Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. All right. My name is Sanan Qasim. I'm proud to be the president of the Youth Innovation Table. We have our amazing team on the call. We have our mayor on the call, and we have our former mayor joining us too shortly. We're excited to have you here as we're going to be talking about identifying community solutions. So, before we get started with our forum and engage in a great discussion with our mayors, we're going to go ahead and just talk about how today's forum is going to work, how to use the chat and raise hand function to ask questions throughout our dialogue, and how to stay engaged. So, I'm going to hand it over to Isabel to talk about that.
It's very important to have Zoom etiquette throughout these meetings, which means when you're not speaking to keep your microphone on mute to help with the background noise, and also to keep your camera on, if you can, to stay engaged. And also, if you don't want to talk out loud, you can always use the chat icon, or you can always raise your hand if you have something to say.
And this is how to use the raise hand and the chat function. So if you go to the reactions tab, you'll see the raise hand. And then, of course, the chat should be at the bottom of your screen where you'll be able to ask questions there as well. And Bailey, if you can go over our sponsorships.
Yes, so we just unveiled our new sponsorship opportunities. We have four levels to choose from with varying levels of benefits. As you go up the levels, there are more benefits. Donations are important to our organization as we are a nonprofit, so it is very beneficial to receive donations. If you or your parents are interested in becoming a sponsor and donating to the Youth Innovation Table, please email us at our email, youthinnovationtable@gmail.com.
Thank you, Bailey. And next, if Miriam, you can go over our team and how our members can get service hours.
Yeah, definitely. So here's our leadership team. And of course, we have our wonderful mayor, Scott J. Brook. He is also the founder of the Youth Innovation Table. And the way that service hours are going to work are if you're in high school and you want service hours, you can reach out to our email at youthinnovationtable@gmail.com. We can sign off for you. And if you attend every meeting of a month, we will double the service hours for you.
Thank you,
I'll hand it back
Miriam.
to you, Sam.
Perfect. So, without further ado, we have our keynote speakers for today. I don't think Mayor Gold is on the call yet, if I'm not mistaken, but I think Mayor Brook is here to help us get started. And when Mayor Gold joins us, he'll be able to discuss as well. But Mayor Brook, if you can start us off and introduce yourself, your connection to the Youth Innovation Table, and your experiences in government.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Yes, and I just texted Mayor Gold the link that you sent me, so hopefully he'll be getting on here soon. So I'm Mayor Brook. I am on my fourth term as the mayor of Coral Springs. I was originally a city commissioner from 2002 to 2006. So I've been serving our community here in Coral Springs for about 11, 12 years. It's a great community, fantastic job. I work with great people. And one of my passions, if you've met me before, is our youth, empowering you all, connecting with you all, and seeing what I could do to help you, elevate your ideas, to put them into action and support our community. So I wanted to share with you a little bit about, what we can do to maybe fill some holes in our community, and especially during COVID. So I have 5 children, 3 grandchildren. My youngest child is 20. My oldest just turned 35. So I've raised 5 teenagers, and it's been a blessing. And I know what unique gifts you all have, in part because I know many of you, and in part because I've raised, so many children and I've mentored so many. I've been mentoring since maybe 1997, and I've mentored about 3,000 youth altogether. So I know that you all have a lot to offer. So what are some ways you can potentially help our community here? One is if you can connect with seniors. We've heard about this potential connection before on different occasions, both here at the Youth Innovation Table and my role as the mayor of the city of Coral Springs. But nobody's really taken it on, so that maybe a teenager might be able to connect with a senior and share with them how to do a Zoom call, or even just to be on the phone with somebody that can use their phone. They're too scared about Zoom, and not just learn from the elderly citizen, but also be able to share with somebody so that they can listen to what you have to offer. So that's something I'd be happy to talk about with Sanan and Miriam and the leaders in the future. Is there something we can do as the Youth Innovation Table to really make our seniors feel appreciated, acknowledged, heard, connected? Because that is definitely a missing in our community. There are a lot of seniors during the pandemic that are isolated, and that's one way to be able to fill a gap in our community. Another recommendation I have is maybe potentially when you are in college, especially for those seniors here. I started something when I was at the University of Miami School of Law called the Informational Interview Network. You haven't heard me speak about this before. Informational interviews are where you get to speak with a professional in an industry that you're interested in for anywhere from 5 to 20 minutes, could be 30, and you're seeking information from them about what they did to get to where they are and what you might be doing as a high school senior, junior, in the future in college, maybe even after college, to become that professional. So I actually started it at School of Law. I probably got about 30 to 35 attorneys committed to giving anywhere from a half hour to 5 hours of their time, depending upon how many people were interested in that area of law, to talk about how they got there, what makes them unique in their role, and what advice they'd have for a young future attorney. And the reason I suggest that for you all is in order to get a leg up, employers are looking for what makes you unique, what makes you stand out. And shoot, nobody had formed an informational interview network until I did at the University of Miami School of Law. So you might want to do that for your college, maybe even your high school currently, and get anywhere from 5 to 15, 20 people involved, and with a similar connection. And you can text me or email me for details. And it's not just a way to get information, it's also a way to get your foot in the door. And if you create an informational interview network from the Youth Innovation Table for the youth in Coral Springs, chances of you getting employment, when you're out of college, I'm going to say is 100%. Because how many young people are creating those opportunities for other young people, like you all are doing here as leaders of the Youth Innovation Table? A third way to get connected in our community and to do something unique is to volunteer for one of our city boards. And there are several that are looking for young people like yourselves. And one of those is actually citizens. It's called the Customer Involved Government Committee. We definitely need young people engaged and involved. And if you go to school or live in Coral Springs, you'd be eligible. Pretty much whoever applies gets accepted. I created this committee when I was newly elected in 2002 as a way to bridge the gap between government and the citizens. And instead of the government just merely kind of being run by 5 city officials, I've actually used this committee to give me some great ideas as to what they want to see change and what they want to see developed, enhanced, or remain the same here in the city. So those are a few ideas I wanted to share with you. You've got me until about 6:15, 6:20. So I'm all yours. I'm all ears. And however I can help you, I'd love to. And if you ever want to connect with me, my cell phone is 954-494-9872. So usually I engage in a fair amount of dialogue, but there was a lot I needed to share. And I'm happy to entertain any questions or ideas that you all have.
Thank you so much, Mayor Brook, for all of those great ideas for the Youth Innovation Table for our youth, and always for your mentorship. I know that Mayor Gold has joined us on the call. So Mayor Gold, if you would like to take a moment to introduce yourself I know that Mayor Gold had mentioned to me earlier that he started the Teen Political Forum in Coral Springs before anyone was talking about youth empowerment and youth outreach. So it's really great to have you on the call, Mayor Gold, and can't think of any two better mayors to be here to discuss this topic. Mayor Gold?
Thank you. Thank you, Sanan. I just want to say that it's a nice opportunity to be with this group and to be with my friend Scott Brook, the mayor of Coral Springs. I followed Scott as the mayor of Coral Springs, and now he's following me as the mayor again. And he's doing a great job. And I appreciate his work and his attitude and his sense of community. I've had a number of ideas over time. I was an activist for over 20 years before I even considered running for office. And I remember actually sitting in Scott's office and he said to me, "Why aren't you running?" And I had to leave his office and think about it. I go, "Why aren't I running?" And I finally made a determination that I had a lot of ideas. I worked as an activist for many, many years, made some things happen, made a bond issue for $7.5 million to save forested land in Coral Springs. And that was very successful and still is to this day. The Teen Political Forum was an idea that Scott and I were involved in with a couple high school students over at, I believe it was Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. And we went there for an afternoon talk for about an hour with a number of elected officials and representatives. And I said, this idea is too good. We don't want it to die. We have to move forward. It took about 2 years, which Scott could share with you as well. When you're at meetings, you might have 10 minutes of meat and an hour and a half of meeting. And the point is, you have to show up to make an influence, to make a volunteer effort. And as Scott says, I believe in listing goals. I believe in working towards opportunities for other people. I get a lot of satisfaction from working with people because the ideas that I hear from other people are different than mine. And I like to see people create their future. And you need to get on board with creating your own future, and you need different leaders, followers. There's leaders among leaders. There's a lot of things you can do, but I will say this: whatever you say that you're going to do in a group setting or with your friends, do it. Don't let them down, because what people make their opinion of you is if you say you're going to do something, that you follow through. You may not always be successful, but they get the type of person you are, and that's very important to move your agenda forward. And thanks for the opportunity. I'm happy to work with my friend, the mayor, and I'm happy to be with you. So I'm sitting in my office. I'm still at work. I see Scott's in his mobile office. It's like karaoke car with cars. So Sanan, you're in charge, young man. How can we help you and your group?
All right. Well, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction, Mayor Gold, and thank you to both of you for being here. I know we have Mayor Brook for just a little bit of time, so if anybody has any questions at all for the two mayors, please use the raise hand function. Please put it in the chat. But before we get any questions, and as they're coming in, to both of the mayors, if you can share with us what your proudest accomplishment has been as mayor of Coral Springs or serving on the city commission. Either one of you, whoever would like to go first.
I'll share with you a very proud accomplishment that Roy and I were part of, and that was being the first city in the country to win what's called the Malcolm Baldrige National Quality Award. And we won that for being a high-performing entity. Usually it's given out to high-performing businesses. And at the time, we had a lot of great measures of performance, a lot of wheels spinning in the same direction. And it was a great accomplishment for a city to win that. But one other thing I wanted to share with you all, and then I'm going to leave until about 6:35, is just so that you know, Mayor Gold and I, we disagreed on some things, agreed on many things. And I want to share with you something that's so important, I believe politically, but in relationships, period. And that's the importance of being able to disagree, but disagree with respect and with kindness. And Roy and I were able to disagree on several occasions, but always with respect, yes, always with kindness. And we have maintained a relationship after many, many years. And like I said, he even just told you I was in office, but he was an activist in our city long before I ran for office. And I'm glad that I asked the question that I did, because Mayor Gold really made a great impact in our community. And even now, I'm in good touch with Mayor Gold, and he shares with me ideas to help me help our city more. I invited Mayor Gold to be part of our economic recovery task force. And Roy and I have gone well beyond our differences to celebrate what we have in common and to share what we have in common to elevate our city. So I share that with you all, because just because you have differences with anybody that you're on a team with, anybody that you work with, anybody in your home, doesn't mean you can't accomplish some good things together. So I wanted to share that lesson before I head out.
Thank you so much, Mayor Brook. And what a wonderful lesson that is for both of you to work together and be able to impact our community and now even help out our youth. Mayor Gold, if you would like to share with us what your proudest accomplishment has been on the city commission or as mayor.
I'm going to go a little bit further. I'm going back to 1994. Back in 1994, Coral Springs had about 12 environmental sites that were going to be destined to be townhomes. They were going to be destined to be malls, strip malls. And there was a bond issue in the city of Coral Springs for public safety and a number of other issues, but nothing about saving forested land. And I got it in my head that I think I can make a bond issue for $7.5 million. And I can remember that fight because the developers and their attorneys and representatives would laugh when I left the meeting, like, oh, that's never going to happen. That won't be successful. And what took place over about a year or two was I was able to convince people, and we had a bond issue for $7.5 million, and we saved 60 acres in 4 locations. Sandy Ridge Sanctuary is the biggest one, where there's a 40-acre preserve. It actually is a home to tortoises, a protected land. And the thing I learned was perseverance and the strength of an idea. And while the developers may not have appreciated my ideas, the community did. And 2/3 of the people voting in that election supported the idea of a bond issue to tax themselves to do what I thought was a very responsible thing, which was to save forested land before it was all taken away. Because most of you have probably driven around Coral Springs. You're familiar with all the malls, all the buildings, and the open space that we have in Coral Springs took place in 1994, 10 years before I ran for office. And I had to be pretty tenacious and talk to right people, work with people, and create teamwork and a sense of fellowship with the commission, with the people that were going to vote. And thankfully, we were lucky enough to make that come true. And as a matter of fact, I volunteer there now as a tour guide at Sandy Ridge Sanctuary. And just this weekend, I was there with a group of Boy Scouts doing a project to win their badges. And somebody came up to me and said, by the way, I've saw 2 tortoises today. I said, yeah, that's great. He says, yeah, one was inside the preserve and one was outside the gate. And I said, would you mind telling me where that one that's outside the gate is? And he walked over with me outside the gate, showed me the tortoise. And I said, okay, we're going to save this tortoise. We're going to bring it back into the preserve where it needed to be. And that was the second time in since 1996, quite a period of time. I think it's 20, I don't know, how many years is that now? About 25 years. That was the second time that I brought a tortoise back into the preserve. And those type of things, I had no roadmap to what I was doing. So what you want to look for in your life is people that will mentor you, support your ideas, and have the same vision or similar vision than you do. And you apply those skills to your drive and your initiatives.
Really well said, Mayor. And as I was doing research on your work before this call, I saw that you are a champion and a great advocate for our environment. So we appreciate that. And thank you for sharing that as your proudest accomplishment and with the city. And so now at this point, I think it's appropriate to open the forum up for Mayor Gold for any questions that our youth have or adult mentors. And hopefully, Mayor Brook, you can help us spark a great dialogue about what we can do to be the best change makers we can be in the community. So anyone on the call, if you'd like to unmute or put your question in the chat and we can recognize you. Jaylene, if you'd like to go first.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jaylene. Just to give a little background of who I am, Jaylene Kennedy. Just to give a background of who I am, I went to Coral Glades High School. I was born and raised in Coral Springs. Now I live in Jupiter, Florida. I go to FAU Honors College here. And I'm a political science major. And I'm just here tonight because I used to intern with the mayor, Mayor Brook, a few years ago. And I'm really interested in local government, just advocating for the youth and the city, and it's really big on local government. But my question for Mayor Gold was, how was it, at those commission meetings and at those city meetings, being on the other side of everything? Because I'm thinking about that now and being in a city meeting now, and although it's gotten a lot more progressive, I believe since the 94, how would you approach the situation now? I feel like people are very still on a tightrope, kind of, sort of, if I'm asking a question, if I'm making any sense.
Well, I'm trying to understand. You're asking me, how is it to go as a citizen and try and make something happen?
Right.
Very exciting. Actually quite fun. You learn to know exactly how long 3 minutes is. When you want to make a topic and you want to address it with the commission, sometimes you bring backup. So you now know you have to bring backup for the 5 members of the commission and one for the clerk. And you may want to give one to the city manager. So you might bring 8 or 9 copies of what you're going to present. And it's always good to have bullet points of the points you want to make on your issue. And I learned that it's good to make it in larger type, because if you know your subject, you really only need to see 2 or 3 keywords to know what you're about to say. So by having it written large, you have the focus, you have the order of the things you want to deliver, and you want to come up with an ask. But let's say you've reached a problem. You go, there's an issue. I don't know how to deal with this. Come up with at least 2 solutions that you think might work. At least that way you give them, they may go, I don't like your first choice, but the second choice worked out. And many, many times I would be meeting with adversarial positions because I protected the tree law when it was first enacted. And they really were wanting to remove trees and build and build and build. So I learned how to present my case. I have a background in the medical industry. So I'm used to reading Food and Drug Administration laws. And when I read those are very tough to understand. If you're going to bring up an issue, let's say having to do with the tree ordinance, get a copy of the tree ordinance, read it a couple times. Eventually it'll look like English. In the beginning, you're going to go, what in the world am I reading? But it's nice to give an idea. When you're on the commission, by the way, your only job is to convince 2 out of 4 people in your position. That's not a high bar. I used to have to convince 3 out of 5 people to go with my position. There were times where they were agreeable. There were times where they were disagreeable. Not all my ideas were great, but many of them were. And that was 10 years, the one about the bond issue was 10 years before I even ran for office. And I was an activist. So I fought them on the tree law to make it more protective, where they were trying to make it so they could do more things. I love your enthusiasm to want to serve. It's really rewarding. The first time you get a reward, the first thing I did was I got a sign for my neighborhood that said Maplewood Isle with an arrow. Everyone said it couldn't be done. I went to the city manager. He says, will you pay for it? I go, yes. He goes, okay. And then you realize government is about supporting ideas, or it actually should be. And it should be about empowering your residents to be able to be good advocates. And I think you're going to be a great advocate.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
My pleasure.
That was a really great question, Jaylene, and it's very interesting to hear from you, Mayor, from your perspective of going from an activist to going straight into a government role, and how that progression happened and how you took that on as well. Jose, if you'd like to go next.
Yeah, thank you, Sanan. I'm Jose Mendez. I go to Sheridan Technical High School. I'm the student government president at Sheridan Technical High School. I run Key Club over there. I work with Sanan doing community involvement with Key Club, something we both are very dear with. And Mayor Gold, I think my question for you relates, as an activist, you kind of went against or challenged the government to do better things. How did you feel, or how was your experience running for office and then becoming a politician, especially running to now be in government, different than being an activist? And how did you go about running for office?
Well, the story did stem from Scott saying to me, actually, literally, why aren't you running? And I just started thinking about it. And the truth is, when I decided to run, I was looking at people that were running for office. And this probably won't be politically correct, but I said, I'm going to have to go to him or her and ask them to put some more trees in a park. And I'm going, I can't do that. I think I know the subject of being a commissioner better than they do. And so that's when I decided to run. The interesting thing about being an activist is you can focus on your one issue better than any of the 5 commissioners. They've got a myriad of tasks to accomplish every meeting. They've got a consent agenda with about 15 items on it. They've got laws they have to pass. They have issues they've got to address. They've got hearings they might have to conduct. You have one issue. And I would go there with one issue and I would know it forwards and backwards. It's very important to have your documentation in hand as well. Pictures of what you're describing or showing where they're doing it a different way somewhere else. And this is what you're trying to accomplish in your city, our city. So you have the ability to be more focused as an activist. When I decided to run, I was very, very fortunate. My name had good recognition. I had served on about 10 or 15 committees in the city at the time. And Scott had mentioned serving on committees. You go to the different committees, you sit in on a meeting and you go, I don't like this dynamic. I'm not going to join this committee. You might go to another committee and you go, wow, this is a good group of people. I want to be a part of this. And choose the committee you might want to serve on. And you'll see that you'll get informed people that are volunteering, doing the right thing. And the more they can trust you, the more you do what you say and say what you do, the more they're going to like you. And then if you're fortunate to become an elected, what happens is something that there's a transformation that goes on that I don't know how I can explain it except for the way it happened to me. In the past, I'd ask them to plant like 6 trees in a certain particular neighborhood park. And I have to go before the commission. They have to talk about it. They have to decide. They have to do a lot of conversation. When I became a commissioner and I said, can we plant 6 trees at, let's say, Mullins Park in this particular area? They would say, yes. Now that was really different. And they had to explain to me, Roy, you're one of the commission now. You are the 5 people that we look up to make the budget, to make decisions. And the best way you can be effective as a commissioner is something they have called commissioner's request. If a commissioner is up there at the end of the meeting, they go, commissioner's request, what ideas do you have? You just start laying out 4 or 5 or 10 issues that you're looking at that you care about. And what happens is staff will look into them. They'll move forward on it. And really, next thing you know, in the next weeks or months, there's a conversation at a workshop, and you may well be fortunate enough to move that issue forward. So being a commissioner, it's easier and it's harder. And being mayor is, you still have the same vote as a commissioner, but it's also very exciting because you are the focal point. You're the person they're looking at for leadership. And you do a lot of different things as the mayor because there's ceremonial things. You didn't ask this question, but I'm going to tell you one of my greatest experiences I ever had as mayor. I got to meet the then president, Barack Obama, on 3 occasions. I met him a few occasions prior to when he ran for office, and when he was running for office, and then I met him as president 3 times, twice in the White House and once down at University of Miami. Those are some of my greatest personal moments of satisfaction and feeling like I've really led a life that's, well lived. So you never know what your life will bring. You just have to focus on what you believe in, what's important to you. And if you can convince other people, you're on your way. And Jose, nice talking to you. You said you're the president of your class, so you're doing some things for other people. You know the difference of being somebody working for others, how that makes you feel. It makes you feel great, right? Yeah.
Thank you
That'll,
very much.
my pleasure. Thank you.
Well, Mayor, I had no idea about your experiences in meeting President Obama and all of the other things that you've done in your career. And it's really interesting hearing about your perspective from going from being an activist to going on the committees and the commission. So thank you for giving us a great insight into all of it. I see that Mr. Wright, who's an adult mentor for the Youth Innovation Table and a great friend of the program, is on the call. Mr. Wright, do you want to share any of your thoughts on our dialogue or any question that you may have for Mayor Gold?
Well, good afternoon. Well, good evening to all. Mayor Gold, really pleasure just listening to you, sir. So let me tell you quickly about who I am, if you don't know me by name. Certainly, you're shaking your head. Yes, you're aware of who I am?
Not enough. No, no, sir.
Okay, all right, good. All
I'm
right.
looking forward to hearing about you.
Well, when I'm done speaking, you might not be looking too forward to hear what I had to say.
Not
Unfortunately, I am the father of the young man that took his life almost 2 years ago this coming March. I'm the father of Calvin, and here in the city of Coral Springs, and I'm going to assume that you might have heard about that incident. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So I'm Calvin's father. Aside from being Calvin's father, I'm also my not political career, but my professional career. I've been, and this is mainly for the certainly for the young people in the group. My background is all HR. I've been in HR probably for about almost 20 years now. So I have a vast amount of experience as it relates to a manager. And kudos to you, Mayor Gold. I wrote something down that you said when you spoke about speaking with different people, and I relate to that as diversity in its full and in its finest. Because we'll always come across people that have different opinions, different thoughts, diversity of thought, different ideas, and I think you, Mayor Gold and Mayor Scott, alluded to it about one good word called respect. So when it comes down to my career, I manage a diversity department in healthcare field as well, and I hired I would probably say every year about 20 to 25 college juniors or seniors, and for some internship program. And it was just something that I really took pride in. I really valued being able to pour into young people, and it was just something that I really enjoyed. And to this day, I think over a period of 18 to 20 years, I probably have individuals literally all over the country that I've mentored, all the way from physicians to chemists to you name it, and very political individuals as well. So I'm very proud to be able to pour into whatever I can. Like I said, my background is all HR, so I can I'm a wealth of knowledge, I would like to say, from an HR perspective, do's and don'ts. As young people, when it comes to certainly getting a job, things not to do, things to do, how to conduct yourself in the workplace, how to be a good professional, and even some education career advice as well, in terms of picking these degrees that some of them unfortunately are not really worth a great deal, in my humble opinion, in terms of getting you anywhere. But I think one thing I'm known for is being really straight and honest with individuals that I've spoken with. Just to give them what I consider to be great advice based on life, professional experiences. And Mayor Gold, I just commend you on prior to you saying what area of activism you were in. That would have been my question, because I haven't had the pleasure of formally meeting you in person as an activist. So I kind of know the role of an activist very well. So I applaud anyone that certainly takes on those challenges, because it's always an uphill battle, but it's quite gratifying when you accomplish something. So I definitely accomplish you, and it tells me a lot about yourself, Mayor Gold, the kind of man that you really are. So I really appreciate that, and thank you for sharing your experience also meeting former President Obama. I'm pretty sure that was something quite rewarding, just an opportunity to meet the president of the United States, that in itself, regardless of the political side of the aisle that you're on, I believe that'll be a big deal for me. So I'm going to assume that was a big deal for you as well. And that's it. Sinan, I thank you for all that you do. You know, I believe that you guys we're building the city, that, you know, all the stuff going on in the world today, and some folks like to put out that all the world's in trouble. No, it just takes one spark of light. Really, at the end of the day, the world's not in trouble. Those that might want to speak it might believe it, but when I look at the screen here today, I see a lot of like minds, and even if there are differences, certainly opportunities to do good. And I believe that certainly starting with the city of Coral Springs, the city of Coral Springs is really in good hands when it comes to our young people, because obviously the goodness that you guys are portraying at this point, and the willingness just to learn from others, it gives yourselves a chance at the game of life. It's tough as it is already, but just giving yourself a chance at the game of life makes all the difference in the world. So I commend all you young people just for certainly just doing what you guys are doing right now, and learning from folks, professional and non-professional folks that certainly have been on the journey for a while. So thank you for the opportunity, Sinan, and you guys are doing a really good job. Thank you. Mayor Gold, pleasure meeting you, sir.
It's a pleasure hearing you and hearing your heart and how you're expressing yourself. There's no words to say the loss that you felt, and my heart goes out to you, because your children are your children, and not much I can say about that. I will say it was probably, I'll tell you a cute story about Obama. I had met him twice at the White House at a reception in a matter of 3 or 4 months. And then I met him down at University of Miami, and I said, Mr. President, there were 14 people lined up to meet him before he was going to go speak. One was the mayor of Miami-Dade County, and I was number 2. And I said, Mr. President, I had the pleasure of meeting you at the mayor's conference at the League of Cities, the National League of Cities. I said, what do you think? How about a hug? And he looks at me with that. He's got a smile. He's a warm person. And you know, people can disagree politically. I found him to be brilliant, warm, personable. And he gave me a hug, and it was a great hug. I mean, I literally, right over there is a picture of him and I, where I got an official White House picture from his photographer. And I learned a lot from him, because he was such a calm, stable. When he gave that speech, remember the speech he gave, "We don't have a person to waste"?
Yes, sir.
That blew me away as a person, as an individual. And I wanted to share with you 2 things. One, I was involved in schools for a very long time. Parent advisory. I would go to the parent advisory meetings at Taravella, at Ramblewood Middle, at Sawgrass Springs. And at some of the schools, I'd be a vice chair or a chair. I eventually went to become the leader of what's called the North Area, which was about 65 schools. And Coral Glades and Monarch High were being built when I was the leader of that group. And what I learned is everyone's different. Everyone comes from a different background, but everybody has something to offer. Now, some people have a lesson to teach you, like, get the heck away from them. They're a waste of your time. But I found, and this may be a high percentage for you young people, that I'm trying to make you feel positive, that 75% of people will usually choose to do the right thing if given the chance. And there may be about 20 or 25% of people that aren't that way. So you have to try to surround yourself with people that are positive and that are going to instill values in you. And Mr. Wright, I think you're going to agree with a couple of things that I'd written down that I wanted to tell the young people, and you're going to kind of like these, I got a feeling. First of all, you want to organize your thoughts and your goals. I would recommend to every person on this phone, I don't care how old you are, this has always worked for me. And I've spoken in groups of elementary school students, high school students, college students. I've spoken nationally. I was the head of the National League of Cities. It's a group that was involved in leadership training, and I was the chair of that. I've spoken in Chile on excellence in government. But the thing that I'm going to tell you now that works is you take a sheet of paper, go outside in your backyard, have a nice tea, whatever you want to relax, and write your 1 year, 5 year, and 10-year goals. And do that and pick things that you like in 10 years. Like if you're in high school, you're probably not thinking about, I'd like to go to Europe or I'd like to be in Paris. But set some goals out there that are going to be fun for you, that are going to give you somewhere to strive. Write them down. Don't just think them. Fold that sheet of paper, put it in your top drawer, any drawer you want. You never have to look at it again. I have seen time and time again where setting goals makes a difference. The other thing, and Mr. Wright will agree with me, I believe, say please, say thank you to people. If somebody ever does something for you and it impacted your life, write them a handwritten thank you note. And for you students, if your mom and dad are at home and you notice, hey, my mom picks up the clothes off the floor every day of the week, you walk up to your mom or dad and just say, like, Mom, you made dinner tonight, and I know you do it like 5 nights a week. I really appreciate you. And what's going to happen is her jaw's going to drop and she's going, why are you saying that? They're not going to understand it, but I'm telling you, you will hit them right in the heart. And that's where you want to hit people. If you want people to care about you, you want to be thoughtful and appreciative and share that appreciation. I've always been about a sense of community, belonging to something bigger than myself. And there's big rewards with that. And for the young people, while you're going on your path to find out what it is you want to do, start collecting business cards. Get one of those little plastic folders, start saving business cards. I'll tell you a cute story about my daughter. My daughter's now 37. When she was in high school, she was a fun squatter for Disney radio. And she would go with groups, at malls and be like a presenter or a fun squatter. And she had about 100+ business cards when she got out of high school. And when she went to college, she got a degree in marketing and she went to LA, and she is now a senior publicist working with the stars you would know. And it's because she started as a girl in high school collecting the business cards. She looked for her first job. She got her first job. There were 500 people applying for the job. So you have to put the focus on yourself. It's not being selfish. It's being, how am I going to take me to the next step, the next goal? And we all can move ahead. You can look at me, you might think I might be older because I have gray hair, but my ideas about growth and strength are universal. And I think that the students that are listening now, I hope you're getting some of this. And when you're going to write a speech or you're going to talk in front of an organization, write bullet points of your key thoughts, write them in a 15 or 20 font, not in regular type, because when you're giving a speech, you can't read. You can't read that small type. And these are some things that I've done over time. And the thing that Scott had mentioned, and I think Mr. Wright was talking about, respect. Some people don't understand it. It's a value. It's a real value. And show respect for yourself. The other thing is love yourself. That's a very important part. You have to devote. I was taught to devote 15 minutes a day to yourself, whether it's to take a bath or go outside in the backyard, but give yourself some pleasure, because like Mr. Wright said, life can be tough. It can be good too. It can be really rewarding, but give yourself a reward each day and try and be nice to people. Please, will you do me a favor? And thanks,
Mayor
Mr. Wright.
Gold, this is good stuff. Really good stuff. I came back on momentarily.
Look at
Roy, thank you for your friendship and your leadership and for your wisdom for sharing with our amazing youth here. I just wanted to interject.
God,
Go ahead.
I'll always my time with you, because we have had an appreciation for each other. And yet, of course, we've disagreed. But bottom line is, I see Scott as a mayor reaching out to people, as I did. And it gives you a sense of pride, because when the Teen Political Forum was created, remember this, Scott? You would see 6 or 8 or 9 people on the stage. Everyone's different. There's no specific formula of how you come to the table. And Scott, you and I were different, but we reached out to each other. We grew together, and we did a lot of good. And I appreciated that. And I'm sharing that because I know to say thanks to the people that helped me get where I got. Thanks, Scott.
It's important. Thank you, Roy. Thank you. And Sanan and your team, you have quite a leg up, regarding your peers with being here and wanting to make a difference for our community and for spreading the word all the way out in California, which is great. So I just wanted to make sure, if you hadn't heard from Jaylene already, that Jaylene shared with you all a few of her words of wisdom as to, how she got to be where she is, so we can bridge the gap, because we need some college representation on our youth innovation table. Hey, Jaylene.
Hi, Scott. Yes, I actually did introduce myself while you were gone, but I'll just give a little bit more.
Great.
Yeah, so
Sure.
I'm at FAU in Jupiter now, and then I interned with Scott in 2018 over the summer, or 2019 over the summer, sorry. And I learned a lot from that experience. It was the first time he had mayoral interns. I did that with Jonathan, who's also in this call as well. So, I mean, that was an awesome experience that we both got to have. And ever since doing that, we really did realize in that summer that we needed a stronger connection with the youth. And because we're turning 18, especially your senior year, and there's a lot of elections that Coral Springs holds that, that Coral Springs holds that a lot of people don't know about, especially the youth. And I think as we're seeing the political change now, a lot more youth are getting involved in politics, at least from what I'm seeing on my end. And I hope that you guys are seeing that on your end too, because if we can get the youth more involved and more into what's going on today, because these things are really affecting our daily lifestyle and what we're doing every day. So it's important to know what's going on. So I think if we can get more youth involved in the voting process and then the political process in general, or just activism, just being aware of what's going on in your surroundings. So that's really why I'm here. I want to get more youth involved, because if we can really not take over, but if we can get more people involved, I think that we could see a change in, everything, not just locally, but statewide, nationally, internationally. If we can get the youth more involved and more into what the political process is, I think that we can really see a difference sooner than later too. So that's why I'm here. And thank you, Scott, and thank you, Sanan, for having me, and everybody else that was involved in tonight's meeting.
You're welcome.
I've appreciated everything that I've heard tonight. So it was good to meet you all again.
It's wonderful to meet you, Jaylene, and thank you for joining us. And Jaylene, Jonathan, I hope that you can join us in this effort, and we can put together and grow the college segment and get more youth involved, so we can continue to be leaders in our community and learn from great mentors like Mayor Gold and Mayor Brook. Jonathan, I know we haven't heard from you yet, so if you'd like to say a few words of an introduction as well, and any thoughts that you have.
Yes, for sure. Thank you very much, Sinan. By the way, I'm sorry I was late. I had to deal with some urgent matters, but sorry. Yeah, so my name is Jonathan Richards. Yeah, I actually graduated from university last year. So, I'm fresh out of college. Right now, I'm just trying to prepare for the law school admission test, and then I'll be applying for law school shortly afterwards. Yeah, but after I graduated from college and I went back down to Florida, I realized that I personally had a lot of work to do in terms of trying to get more connected within the community. So that's why I was very interested when the Mayor Scott basically told me I could get more involved with the mental wellness lens and with the youth innovation table, because I think it's very important that no matter who we are, once we live in this borough county, I think it's a good idea to believe that we should be able to connect with different people in the community, because we're trying to better the community. And you connect with all ages. You connect with people who are in high school, you connect with people who are in that college age area, and then you connect with people who are older. And I think when we have those kind of communities with people of different age ranges, different beliefs, we can hear each other's different perspectives, and we can all come up with ideas that I think are very important for the progression of the community. So I'm very happy to be involved, and I'm very happy to help in any way. And I'm also here to learn from all of you. And as you were saying before, the great advice we received from both mayors. So I'm very happy to be a part of this.
We're so fortunate to have you. Oh yes, go ahead.
A couple of things real quickly. Jaylene, I think I don't want you to. You said something. Again, I'm and I think this should be a lesson as well. Always, and Mayor Gold alluded to it, or he spoke to it, I should say. Note taking, always take notes. So when someone's always speaking, I'm telling you, I always take tons and tons of notes. One takeaway from what you just said just now. Oh, there you go, Mayor Gold. I'll tell you, I take tons and tons and tons of notes. Jayleen, something you said, and this is really important for me, for you guys as well. I don't know if you meant to say it, but you said the words "take over." Okay, don't believe that, because the world really are in you guys' hands. So if you want to ride with that, that's okay to ride with that and say take over from a youth perspective, because this is a totally different generation in the era that Mayor Gold and Mayor Scott and myself certainly grew up in. Okay, take over. That's okay, because you have great ideas. Take over. The world is really, really, really in your hands. Now, if I may, real quickly, Mayor Gold, you called my name a couple of times, and I think in your former life is, and I don't know your professional background fully, but you definitely have some HR in you. And what I used to say when it comes to people always say, well, because I've done tons and tons of counseling, and they're, oh, Brenton, this, Brenton. I've said, listen, a lot of what I do from an HR perspective, honestly, guys, is good old simple common sense. I promise you. There are a lot of things in books, but common sense is a greater percentage of my humble opinion. Okay, so Mayor Gold mentioned goals. Okay, 1, 5, 10-year goals. Please don't take that for granted. That is key to your success. Whether you revisit it at some point. Listen, 20 years ago, when I was hired by the CEO who became my mentor at Broward Health 20 plus years ago, she asked me some questions about my goals, and she advised me, even at that stage of my career as an older person, she always advised me. She said, Brenton, write your goals down. Look at your goals. Let that become a part of your DNA. Okay. Mayor Gold mentioned simple words like please and thank you. Oh my God, kill me. Those words are so powerful. You wouldn't believe how many young people I've interviewed over the years would not, and I believe that they had some level of professional training and a professional class and interviewing skills or what have you. Don't know how to shake someone's hands professionally. Don't know how to simply say thank you or ask me for my business card. Okay, Mayor Gold mentioned his daughter in the business card, having a bag of business cards. If I show you a portfolio that I have right now, a business card case, I have hundreds of business cards. And the opportunity is network. As I always tell the interns in the beginning when I spoke to them, I said, listen, you get 10 weeks here in this organization. Take advantage of it every single day. You want to meet, there's 5 CEOs. You want an opportunity, oh, well, Brenton, he or she's not going to respond to me. You will never know until you send that email or make that phone call. Don't dismiss yourself out of any potential opportunity. Always go for it. And last but not least, I spoke about the opportunity, networking opportunity. You must do it. I promise you. So again, Mayor Gold, I totally agree with everything you said, sir. 1000%. Everything I agree with. And Jayleen, don't you stop doing what you just said, please. And that's for all of you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate your words of wisdom and everything that you shared. You know, it's really interesting when you said business cards, because it's very interesting because as I was growing up, my parents actually got me something that you probably know of, but not everybody knows what it is, and that's a Rolodex. And we put in the business cards. So it's interesting that you mentioned that. And so I really appreciate everyone who's shared. Really appreciate Mayor Gold for being here, sharing his wisdom. I can tell you that, you know, for those of us that did take notes, for those of us that are listening, everything that you're saying is something that is truly inspirational and motivating to go out into the community and into the world and make a difference. So really appreciate it. And Mayor Gold, if you'd like to end off with any concluding remarks based on everything that you've heard today and your advice to our youth.
Sure. First, I'll leave you with my phone number, which is 954-383-5555. In my life now, I manage a company. I own a company that makes medical products. But one of the things I do for fun is I'm a tour leader of the environmentally sensitive land parks in Coral Springs. And if anyone in this group has a desire to see what a 40-acre forest looks like that's been preserved and shows you exactly what Coral Springs looked like back in the day, it's worthwhile. I also want to bring up that in history and government, things repeat themselves. Back when Scott and I were on the commission, I got on the commission and he was on in 2002, I was on in 2004. Back in about 2005, there was a program at the National League of Cities called an inclusive community. And we fought together, working for it, not against each other, to put that sign up on City Hall that we are an inclusive community. That was in 2004. Now, you know the state of our politics today. So things come back and they don't always change. Now, when they tore down Old City Hall, they also got rid of that sign. So that's a sad story. But the things that people fight for, there's a lot of them. The minorities in our community are getting a bigger and bigger voice. We now have 2 members of the commission that happen to be Black. And they bring a perspective that is the same as everybody else's. They just happen to be Black. But it shows an inclusiveness for our community. I'm very pleased with how our government is moving forward. And I know through Scott and other members of the commission that if you have a desire to be involved in a committee and you have a desire to make a difference and volunteer, you're gonna do well in Coral Springs because they seem to be very receptive to helping. Now, obviously, we've been through the COVID. It's been a trying time and it's been difficult, but it's been my pleasure to be here with you. I had a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. And I wish you guys all well, ladies. And when I say guys, I know I meant to say ladies and gentlemen, but I call everybody guys. I don't mean it as a male thing. So forgive me. And nice to be talking with all of you today. And it was really a pleasure to be invited. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mayor. And Mayor, you're always welcome to join us. I know that we were so inspired by everything that you shared, and anytime that you feel you'd like to share with us on your thoughts, more than welcome to join. As everyone knows, we meet every other Monday at 6 p.m., the same time. And really quickly before we end off, I just want to share some ways you can continue to stay engaged with our program. Grace, who's our director of the Youth Innovation Table in California, if you can share with us on the next 2 slides, please.
Yeah, so hi guys, my name is Grace. I'm from San Diego, California. The Youth Innovation Table is always trying to expand to new people, to new areas, to new states. So following us on our social medias is a great way to keep in touch and continue to come to the meetings and continue to stay engaged with us. And we now have a survey that you can take. So if you want to hold your phone up, you can scan the QR code, or Bailey just put the link in the chat. It's a great way to get feedback to us. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Grace. Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who's joined us today. Before we end off, before everybody leaves, the team wants to take a screenshot picture to make sure we can document today's event. So please stay on for just a moment as we do that. And Miriam, if you want to instruct us on how that's going to work and what we need to do to make it happen.
Yeah, definitely. So if you're able to, and you don't have your camera on already, please turn your camera on and I will take a screenshot of all of us. So 3, 2, 1. Thank you all.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone. We look forward to seeing you 2 Mondays from now. Thank you so much again to Mayor Gold for joining us. Really appreciate all of your insight. Take care, everyone. Have a great night.